All right, welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Here's the second part, the second video of the series where we are reviewing and predicting the outcomes of the seasons of the guys, the Americans abroad that have a chance of getting their hands in trophies, promotions, relegations, that have something meaningful to play in these last 14 to 20 games that are left in the season. We have Thomas again in the channel as a continuation of that video. We really enjoy having you here. Again, guys, we'll leave a link in the description to his channel. Make sure you check it out. Comment, leave a like there, subscribe. We're happy to have you here, Thomas. If we're talking about promotions, if you guys have watched this channel for a while, I have to make my agenda here. So we got to talk about Serie B. Hopefully these clubs fight for a spot for Serie A until the end of the season. It's not just Tessmann and Busio. We got Gioacchini, who just made a move to Como. Nice move for him. We got Christopher Lund, who is our backup right now to Jedi, I think the immediate backup. So it's a very interesting league to talk about. I will make my agenda say that Venezia will somehow make it through. But analyzing the Venezia boys first, Brenden, do you think that Tessmann and Busio have enough? And you can be completely against my bias. Do you think they'll ultimately go up? Your honest opinion.
Yeah, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you guys know my bias is with Christopher Lund and Palermo. We'll be rooting for them the whole season. And it's a very tight promotion race. Top two go up. Parma look to have secured the first spot, but the second spot is honestly anyone's game. Cremonense have it currently, but Como, Venezia, Palermo, all three of the teams with Americans are right behind. And honestly, I think it could be any of the four that could get that last spot. And in the playoffs as well, another spot opens up for hopefully one of our Americans or two for Venezia to go up. I'll start with Venezia. Like you said, I do think they are going to finish second. I will back them to get that automatic promotion playoff spot. Not playoffs, sorry. The automatic spot. I think Tessmann and Busio have been absolutely immense this season. Probably Venezia's two best players on the whole of it. Tessmann was recently suspended for a game, which that should just mean he's available for the rest of the season. Busio will probably miss one game due to suspension, but besides that, both of them should be available for the rest of the season. And I think it should be enough for them to ultimately finish second, beat out Cremonense, who just signed one of their best players. Unfortunately, it's an uphill battle Venezia are facing with a bit of some questionable decisions with ownership-wise. But honestly, I do back them. I think they've been looking good all season. They had that second spot for a while. They slipped a little bit, but I think they are back in form now. Picked up some important points. The goal difference is pretty good as well. And ultimately, I think they will get over the line. As for the other teams, I do think Como have the best chance. They're a very well-run club, ambitious, managed by their legend, Cesc Fabregas. And honestly, I think they will ultimately go up through the playoffs. As much as I would love to see Palermo there instead, I do think it will be Como, and Gioacchini will somehow be a Serie A player next season.
Well, before I move on to Thomas, I would just say thank you, Brenden, for that. And I think that Christopher Lund will win. If Palermo makes the playoffs, they'll go up, in my opinion. But over to you, Thomas. Think of it, and do you think that these players ultimately will somehow get an American or two in the Serie A next season?
So in truth, I don't watch a lot of Serie B, but I don't have an Italian football club that I really can call my own. So the moment both of those guys were signed by Venezia, I've been a closet Venezia fan for a couple years now, to be honest. I've constantly find myself looking up their matches to see how they've done, to see the results, and I've been tracking them the entire season strictly because I want them to get promoted. So yes, I'm 100% on the Venezia train. I do believe that they will win the promotion battle, especially with Tessmann coming back after the yellow card. I think he had a yellow card suspension, three yellows or something like that. And I know they've had some injuries, so that's they've dropped a few points. A little bit of late, 1 point, I think, or 2 points of late, but they haven't been firing all cylinders, and I think they're kind of getting back to that point. To the Nicolas Gioacchini move, I love the Nicolas Gioacchini move. I'm really, really glad that he moved to Italy. I know I believe he spent some time in Italy as a child. I think he lived there in his youth, so it should be a real easy transition for him. I'm sure he speaks Italian, so usually I feel like that's one of the hardest transition for any American born in America going to Europe is learning a different language. So I really think he could give them a good boost, and they could potentially battle Venezia for that automatic second promotion spot. Obviously, I think Parma's got the first spot locked up. But yeah, as far as promotion goes, Venezia all the way. Como, I think they have a good chance at maybe winning the playoffs, but I think Venezia is going to lock up that second spot.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I'm glad that you guys are on that train. But just to defend my take on Lund, I think that Palermo have the most hostile away ground in Serie B, one of the most hostile away grounds in all of Italy. Last season, when they didn't make the playoffs, it was sad, it was heartbreaking, but this year I think they should have enough to push for that automatic promotion spot to the very end, which would grant them a better position on the playoff, just one match really. So I think that if they secure 4th or 5th place, I'm 100% backing Palermo to go up. I've seen the story many times in my life, can't bet against them, and it would be nice to see Christopher Lund joining the Venezia boys in the Serie A. Moving on to the second division. It's a division that gave us really another 8-teamer this year with Maloney. He got promoted last year. Now we have another American starting there. It's Maximilian Dietz. He is one of the most interesting guys we have because of his age, and he is Olympic eligible. 20-year-old playing for Klagenfurt. They're currently in 4th place, if I'm not mistaken. It's a bit of a mix there. 4 points to automatic promotion, and you got that 3rd spot, which is a playoff with the team that could be going down, which is absolutely bonkers. And I love that they have that in Germany. But ultimately, Brenden, we have an Olympic eligible player that hasn't been called up starting, and I think that he's been looking really good. Do you think that he gets that promotion?
Yeah, quick shout out to Julian Green as well, who's also in that Rutherford team, the USMNT legend from the 2014 World Cup, taking a spot from Landon Donovan. But yeah, I think Dietz is a very intriguing player, especially due to our lack of center back depth, especially with the young players. I think he's really the only proven one that we have at the Olympic age level. So I've been watching him with intrigue a lot this season, and he's been pretty good. One of the best center backs, especially one of the best young center backs in that whole division. And honestly, I think even if they don't go up, he could see himself moving up to the Bundesliga, getting a move maybe to one of the newly promoted teams like a St. Pauli, like Holstein Kiel, could potentially be looking into signing him. Like you said, that potential 3rd place spot against, it looks like it's going to be FC Cologne, who's going to finish in the relegation playoffs right now. It could be a site against Damian Downs as well, the fellow American eligible German player. And yeah, I think it's been a very productive season and a very enlightening season because the USSF has actually shown they know who these players are now, which is nice. Their scouting network is there. Dietz has been brought in. He should be a starter at the Olympics unless we bring 2 age-eligible center backs, or not age-eligible center backs, which I don't think it's likely to bring 2 at the same position. So Dietz should be a starring role in the Olympics, and hopefully before that he can end out the season with at least a game in the promotion playoff, put himself on the map a little bit.
Absolutely, and I'll say it right now, he's better than John Brooks, in my opinion. I think John Brooks is looking horrible this season, so it would be nice to have an upcoming American starting at center back. And do you think that he gets that promotion, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of hard to say. They've had a kind of tough run of form. They're starting to drop some points, so their chance is as good as anyone in that fight for promotion right now. That's how I would look at it. So to say yes or no is kind of hard. I think they have really good odds, but I am kind of leaning towards no. I am excited about the player, though. To be honest, you recently put me onto this player and brought him to my attention. And anytime we can have new young center backs who are pushing themselves and playing in European competition, that's what we need. Some of our better guys are playing the MLS, and I'm not here to knock the MLS, but most of our conversations have been about being uncomfortable and playing at the highest level, and there's a lot to that. So he definitely is a player to look out for. I think he'll definitely be on the U.S. men's national team Olympic roster, and Brenden, I would never underestimate Greg calling up too many center backs to a U.S. men's national team camp. The man was a defender himself. He loves to call in an extra defender. So I think you even made that point in an earlier video. I think I heard you say that. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt that he would do that. But as far as getting promotion next season, I'm going to lean on the side of no.
Yeah, I mean, if Dietz was a right back, if only he was a right back, I would say that his odds to get called up would increase automatically. But yeah, now moving on to, in my opinion, the best second division in the world. This league really is, let's say, a top 7 league. A lot of people throw out these random terms now that it's a top 7, top 6. There's only top 5 leagues. But if we were to include a top 6, top 7, the championship would be right on there. I think it's a great league. It's anybody's league. I think it's the toughest one to play. Builds a lot of character, and we have some Americans there that are fighting for that spot. In Coventry, Haji Wright taking the league by storm, 10 goals, 5 assists. I mean, the most prolific player they have in their attack. Haji's up there fighting for the Golden Boot, really. We got Sargent there as well. If he wasn't injured, he would be absolutely up there. And we also had, it's kind of sad to say, but we had DK there, but I don't know what his career outcome's going to be. But anyways, Brenden, do you think that any of these guys are going to find themselves in the Premier League next season?
I love the Championship because it's always one of the most unpredictable leagues in the world. You see so much parity. I mean, I'm sure Thomas will know this as well as anyone as a Leeds fan. But I do think this season the gap is increasing between the Prem and the Championship. I think we are seeing that. The top three teams that just got relegated are flying. Those three and Ipswich, the surprise of the season. I think those four, honestly, it's going to be three of them, four that go up. But I would like to see Coventry and Norwich both in the playoffs, at least making a run for it. West Brom, I'm sorry, but DK's out for the season. I have no loyalties to you anymore. I'd love to see them drop out in favor of Norwich, especially considering the fact that Sargent is on amazing form coming back from injury. He seems to be scoring basically every game now. Like you said, I'm sure he'd be up towards the Golden Boot race if he wasn't out for so long. And yeah, Haji Wright as well. I think he's the American with the most goal contributions in total this season. He's not playing in a top 5 league, so it often gets overlooked. But playing as a winger, playing as a striker, we could see him get a call up at an alternative position for the Nations League. Who knows? I think he's definitely deserving of it. And yeah, like I said, I'd love to see both of them in the playoffs. Will either of them go up? I can't see it. I think Southampton, Ipswich, Leeds, whichever one of those three teams doesn't finish in the automatic spots, one of them will, along with Leicester, who basically have the league wrapped up. The other two, one of those two will go up through the playoffs, but I would love to see Coventry and Norwich make a run for it. And ultimately, I do think both of them will get the 5th and 6th place spots.
Yeah, that would be nice. Definitely hoping for that to happen. And yeah, I agree with you. The gap is increasing, even looking at the teams that are getting relegated. But anyways, Thomas, what do you think? Do you think that any of them really have a shot? And do you think that any of them have a shot of getting the Golden Boot?
Yeah, I mean, Haji has the best chance of getting the Golden Boot, and he's going to get the minutes. So he's throughout the rest of the season, he's going to see plenty of minutes for Coventry. Like Brenden was saying, they don't have many other attacking options. So, and he's playing with confidence. That's really everything. If you play with confidence and you're scoring goals, they come in bunches. So it could be a great rest of the season for him. As far as I do think Leicester and Leeds are going to lock up those top 2 spots. Obviously, I'm incredibly biased with Leeds, but they've been on an unbelievable heater of form. They've won their last 5 matches, and they're winning these matches handily. 4-0, 3-1s. They look really good. And to that point, if our buddy Brenden Aaronson, gets relegated over there at Union, he's on loan from Leeds, so he might be coming back. He could end up being back in the Premier League. I know a lot of Leeds fans, have soured on Aaronson, and I know. But you never know. He could end up coming back and playing for Leeds next season. It could happen. Anyway, as far as West Brom goes, the DK is just gutting me. I'm a huge DK guy. I've always believed in him. I think he just hasn't had an opportunity to be healthy long enough to actually get a good run of form and just really, iron out himself as a player. So he's really never gotten to find his feet and really become the player I think that he could become for the U.S. men's national team. But as far as West Brom, I do think they will drop out. I do like Coventry and Norwich to make it into those 5th and 6th spots. Never discount Norwich. I mean, I think in the last 20 years, they've been promoted and relegated 5 times. They always seem to find a way to get back into the Premier League. They have a huge fan base that loves the club. And Josh Sargent's on fire right now. The guy is scoring like crazy. I think in my notes, I think he scored 4 in the last 4 or something like that. Or what is it? Yeah. He scored a goal in his last 3 matches. So the form from Josh Sargent is exactly what Norwich needs right now for an end of the season push. But yeah, like I said, I do think it is going to be a promotion playoff for those teams.
Calling him now. Haji Wright gets Coventry into the Premier League. A crazy shout. But I just have a feeling it might just happen. I think they'll just squeeze in 6th, and it would be a legendary run if they. Can you imagine that a year ago we would be having this conversation that Haji Wright's possibly a Premier League level player? He's proving that he's definitely a championship level player. But yeah, I also want to mention now, Reggie Cannon is in the league. Just a quick roundup. What do you guys think? Do you think that he'll gets the nod with QPR to stay in the championship? Just quick turnaround. What do you think, Brenden?
I would love QPR to stay in the league. They're a massive club. I remember them in the Premier League over a decade ago. They were a staple, but they've fallen on hard times now. Some ownership issues that splashed out a little too much back when they were in the Prem. And it does look like they will be going down. out of the teams in the relegation zone, they have the best chance of staying up still. And Reggie Cannon's been playing at a pretty high level, although he did get dunked on by Sargent last time they played pretty recently. Sargent getting up and scoring that header over him, but he has been playing at a pretty decent level despite the team's struggles. He had a little bit of a knock, which he recovered from pretty quickly. He's locked down the spot at right back. He's a consistent starter. And honestly, I do think that he will be playing in the championship or a similar level league next season, regardless of whether QPR go down or not. He seems like a type of player to not stick around and play in League One. I think it's just too low of a level for him, especially considering he was just playing in, some people consider a top 5 league, Liga Portugal, just a couple seasons ago, last season even. So I think he's too good for that level playing it currently. So I think he'll be at a better situation next year, regardless.
What do you think, Thomas? Does he get relegated? And if he does he find a better club or he sticks around?
So yeah, I don't think they get relegated. They had a horrible start to the season. They did bring in a new manager at the end of October, and it took him a couple months to right the ship. And I think they actually have seen some signs of things going in the right direction for QPR. And the team above them, Millwall, has looked absolutely dreadful. So Millwall has dropped points in every game in the last 5 games, I feel like, and QPR is finding points. So there's a lot of games left in the championship season. You know, it's a long season. There's a lot of teams in the championship. It's a 46 game season. They still have 14 games to pick up. Let's see here, 4 points. I like QPR's chance to stay up. If they don't stay up, I do think he moves on. I think he's just too good of a player to play in League One. So I think someone will find a spot for him. He's locked up that right back spot for QPR. He's just a mainstay on that team, and I'd have a hard time believing that another championship team wouldn't come scoop him up if he dropped down to League One.
All right, now moving on to other players. I really like this move. You got to talk about Paxten trying to make a name for himself in the Eredivisie. I think it's a crazy move in the eyes of some, but hey, it's a win-win situation. He's going to get not much pressure, really. Going to get a lot of minutes. The team has been struggling with a horrible attack. Vitesse have horrible numbers in their front line. Paxten made the move. I already am getting my hands on a Paxten jersey there. What do you think, Brenden, as a Brendinho and Paxten fan? Do you think that he somehow pulls it off the hat and keeps them up?
See, I've watched Vitesse now for 1 game as an avid Paxten Aaronson fan, and I'm already really frustrated with them because they had the game wrapped up, honestly, against Heracles Almelo, former club of Luca della Torre, who we'll get onto later in this video. But the first half was great, and then they just get a stupid red card right before halftime, have to change it up, and they go from up 2-0 and then 2-1 halftime to just losing pretty comfortably 3-2. And it looked like that it was the chance for them, Paxton's debut, to finally get out of the relegation zone, or not out of the relegation zone, but out of last, and put themselves back in the fight to stay up. But they didn't even pick up a single point. They bottled all 3, and I think they will be going down regardless. And it's a shame, honestly, because Paxton's first half, I honestly think, was very good, but they had to switch up the play after the red card, and he struggled a lot in the second half, and as did the team as a whole. I do like the move in general. I think it's going to be good. They're going to be relying on him a lot for goals because they can't seem to score any with the current players they have. But him as well as Zach Booth as well probably will both get relegated, but they're both on loan from bigger clubs. Zach Booth's at Leicester, obviously Paxton's at Frankfurt, and I think for both of them it's just about getting game time because their parent clubs rate them very highly. Zach as well just scored his first professional goal in a game against his brother, and I think it's been a very productive season for both of them, and it will continue to be, although I do think they will both go down.
What do you think, Thomas? Do you agree with Brenden that both younger brothers of other USMNT players get relegated, or somehow they get to stay in the league?
I do agree. I think they're both destined to go down this season. I don't think Paxten Aaronson was ever sent to Vitesse to save them. Honestly, I think he was sent there to get minutes, just to get as much playing time as possible. I'm always a big proponent of guys leaving MLS as soon as possible to get that experience. But maybe he did leave a little bit too early. Maybe could have stayed 1 more year in MLS, played another season, then made the move to Eintracht, as shown by his very lack of minutes at Eintracht. You know, it appears that he obviously wasn't ready to break into the starting roster there. And a lot of times he wasn't even brought on as a bench player. A few times he's been left off the roster this season. So I think it's really nice to see him go to this team. I think he has a lot of potential. I'm actually high on the Aaronson brothers. I like both of them. I think they both could be really great players for the U.S. men's national team. I know a lot of people are down on Brenden right now, but he's just one of those guys that I think has incredibly high ceiling, and he's 23 years old. So very good players. But yeah, I think that Vitesse, I think their goose is cooked, but that's a good thing because Paxton's going to be on the field a ton. He's going to be their guy. He's going to get tons of moments to get confidence and really grow as a player. So I think that's the best move for him. I'm happy with the move, and unfortunately they'll go down, but he's on loan. No problems. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Brenden appreciates that, having another Aaronson fan right here. Aaronson's fans. I agree with you guys. I think ultimately they will go down. I do hope that Paxten somehow, I think that even though Vitesse are really frustrating, I would say that Zach has a better chance of staying up, but ultimately they'll both go down. But I agree with you guys. It's great for the minutes. It's great for the experience, and they have way better parent clubs. So as long as they get their experience under the belts, and in the future, in the long run, that's what these guys are aiming for. They're so young. The long run is all that matters. Their future is not going to be playing in the second division Netherlands. So as long as they get to even be sort of protagonists, that would be nice to see. But talking about players that are looking to be protagonists, we got to go to the neighbors of that country, going to Belgium. We got a few players there, and they're all in the same bracket, really, of the age group of being Olympic eligible. We got Slonina, Griffin Yow, and we got Reynolds as well, who stayed there. But Brenden, going to you first, do you think that any of these guys have a chance of staying up, and how important will they be if they do stay up?
Starting with Reynolds and Yow, because I think they have the chance of staying up. They're currently outside of the relegation zone, but they're only 2 points clear of it. So it is still all to play for them. I think despite the struggles for Westerlo this season, who are a pretty small club, Reynolds being the record signing, Yow as well being a revelation, together on that right-hand side, I think they've been pretty good. Two of Westerlo's best players in a lackluster season for them. And honestly, I do think they will stay up, and I think after one more season, both of them can even push up to get a move to maybe a better club in the league or even outside of the league. I think the trajectory is good for both of those players. Now on to Slonina, another guy out on loan, so another relegation player out on loan. It seems to be a theme with our guys, but I do think they are done. They're 3 points back in the relegation zone, 3 points back of safety right now, so it's not completely unmanageable for them, but for most of this season, they've had a couple of good games, especially that 1-0 win over Antwerp recently was a crazy result, but honestly, for most of the year, they've looked incompetent, inept, and just downright horrendous, honestly. There's no way to sugarcoat it. They've been outclassed in most, if not all, of their games. They're losing 4-0 to Club Brugge, 5-0 to Club Brugge, 3-0 to a relegation rival, OH Leuven, who have a former college striker from America, so shout out to him as well, even though he is an American. But yeah, I think Slonina ultimately, he's had a lot of reps this season, which is good. I don't think it's good that his defense is so bad because it has forced him into making a couple mistakes, which aren't exactly good for the confidence of a 19-year-old goalkeeper. But at the end of the day, the fact that he's that young, playing in probably a top 7 or 8 league in the world, is pretty good for a young keeper to get that experience at such a young age. He's got his whole career ahead of him, and ultimately, I think he will go down with Eupen, but it's not going to define his career or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's better that he's playing there than playing U23 Premier League, which is just meaningless. So I think it's better. I think that move is better than just staying there. And what do you think, Thomas? I'm really high on Griffin Yow. Out of these guys that are young, and also Reynolds, who could make a shot for the 18, what do you think? Do you think that they managed to stay up, or do you agree with Brenden? Let's keep in mind, it's just 2 wins to get Slonina's team Eupen outside there, but 2 wins for them is a lot. It's like 10. So what do you think, Thomas? Do you think they'll manage to stay up?
I think Westerlo is in good shape to stay up, so I don't think they're going to have much problem staying up. But I think Eupen's, goose is probably cooked this season. To your point, I do worry a little bit about the confidence issues. Being in a relegation team as a goalkeeper, a lot of people are going to look towards the goalkeeper, but it's a team sport, and there's a lot more to that. And he's probably one of the youngest players on the team, so I can't imagine that it's going to really destroy his confidence. So I would like to think that this is just a learning experience. Like Paxten Aaronson going to Vitesse. It doesn't matter that you're getting beat every week. It matters that you're getting minutes at a high level at one of the top leagues in the world, and you're growing as a player. So I do think they're destined to go down, but I think that Westerlo's in good shape. I think Brian Reynolds, I like that move because he wasn't getting enough playing time. So anywhere you go to get playing time and you're playing at a high level, I'm all for it. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll say my take. I think Westerlo stays up and Eupen gets demolished to go down, sadly. But I think it's okay. Overall, positive season, let's say, more positive than negative for Slonina. If there was a time to make mistakes, this was a time. The team would have gone down with any keeper there. You can put Neuer there, they'll still go down, so who cares? Now, moving on to making a shift back to the top 5 leagues. This player, Trusty, I think that maybe it was too soon, but maybe it was just the wrong club. I think that Sheffield look horrendous. Honestly, I don't want to say what I think they look like, but I think that they are going down. What do you think, Brenden? Do you think that they have any chance, or are they hopeless?
I think I've mentioned this in another video recently, but I do think the Sheffield move was maybe a season too soon because this club has no ambition. They got promoted to the Premier League and sold their 2 best players immediately to France. It just doesn't scream of a team that wants to be in the league. But I do think next year in the Championship, where they'll probably be fighting for promotion back to the Prem, just to probably get relegated again, to be honest. But they'll be at the top of the Championship, like I already said, one of my favorite leagues in the world just because of how tough it is to play in that league. I think that'll really benefit Trusty, and it's a step up from what we saw at Birmingham, where he was their player of the season last year at a lower level championship club. Now he'll be at a high level championship club, should be starting week in, week out after they've sold a couple of players to some other Premier League clubs. Not a lot, honestly. The team is very, very weak. They were destined to go down anyway. It's just kind of a shame for Trusty. It's just thrown into the fire in the Premier League, and there's not really much he can do about it. He's made a couple of mistakes here and there, but he's not really the problem with that team. It goes much deeper than that. And honestly, we can throw Luca Koleosho into the mix as well, although he's someone I'm 100% sure will be staying in the top 5 league because how he's played as such a young player before the injury. Obviously, he's out for a while right now, but he's been very impressive. I'm sure someone will snap him up when Burnley inevitably do get relegated alongside Sheffield.
Yeah, and I also think that the fact that he got injured after having good games just proves that he really is American. So that's a thing with our players. They always get injured. So I think whatever I can grasp my hands on and say that maybe I'm hopeful that he does pick us. But regardless, Thomas, do you think that there is any chance that Trusty somehow stays up? And do you view this move, like Brenden said, with a silver lining that next season he could propel himself as one of the best center backs in the Championship if they go down? Or do you think a miracle happens?
Yeah, no, I agree with Brenden. I think Sheffield's dead in the water. They have no chance. They're going to finish 20th place. They're definitely going to finish last place in the Premier League. They're just horrible. I think, like Brenden said, their ownership completely sold out this season. I think they saw an opportunity to get a return on investment, going from the Championship to the Premier League. They're going to cash that media money that they get for being on TV every week, sell their best players, put that in their pocket, and bring in an American in Auston Trusty and sell a few jerseys to the American audience. So that's kind of how I look at that move. As far as the move for Trusty, I like the move. Granted, it's a team that's going to get relegated, but he's playing against top-level competition every single week, every time he's out on the field, and you can't ever really scoff at that. As far as going back down to the championship, I do like him getting some championship experience next year. I just think, to your guys, what we were saying, I think the championship is one of the better leagues in the world. It really is a lot better than people give it credit for. I would put it around the 6th, 7th best leagues in the world. And honestly, it's one of the 6th or 7th best leagues in the world with teams that can beat any of the best teams in the world on their given day. It's crazy how competitive the EFL Championship is. So I personally like the move. I liked all the moves when the guys can't come to these Premier League teams that are fighting for relegation, just because I have a hard time not saying it's the best league in the world, and it's just such good experience for our players. And when you come back playing in the Premier League and you come back and playing in CONCACAF Nations League, man, you got to have a lot of confidence stepping out there, playing against some of these Central American teams, and even against, no disrespect to Mexico, but playing against teams like Mexico when they don't have as many players playing in some of these top flight leagues like we do. So I like the move, and I think that they will go down. unfortunately, but that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It definitely makes you very confident playing against these farmers. No disrespect, but I'm pretty sure some of them are farmers. Let's be honest. The fields definitely look like they're from a farm sometimes. But anyways, moving on to our fellow San Diegan, Luca de la Torre, who is dangerously close to the relegation zone. He's been on a bit of a streak lately. Sadly, they didn't. If they made a run in that Copa del Rey, he would have been the hero, definitely. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Silver lining for the season is gone. It's just about staying up. Do you think that he'll ultimately do that, Brenden?
I think a lot of the talk in La Liga has been about Sevilla's struggles this season, and Celta Vigo have kind of gone under the radar with how poor they've been. They are a pretty big club as well in Spain. They've been a staple of La Liga for the past who knows how long, and it's not looking too great for them. Only 3 points clear with their next match against Barcelona, who have been struggling this season, but still one of the best teams in the league. Did also just almost drop points to one of their relegation rivals, Granada. So who knows? I think realistically it's going to come down to them and Cadiz for the last spot. It's basically a 2-horse race for the last relegation spot. Almeria and Granada are basically dead already. But I do think they will ultimately stay up. I think Luca has been on a very good run of form despite the struggles for his club. Recently, he's been pretty good. The midfield competition is certainly spicing up for the USMNT. But I think ultimately he does stay up. But he needs to get a little bit careful because next season, who knows, the relegated teams might not be as bad as they are this season in La Liga. So I think he needs to be careful, and maybe he'll make a Yunus Musa type move and get out of there before it's too late. Because Valencia last season, they looked like they were going to be in trouble this season. Somehow they're not. I don't know how they managed that, but maybe it's time for Luca to do a similar thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm already advocating for him to make a move, but straight to the point, Thomas, do you think that he stays up?
Yeah, I do think they stay up, just because the teams below them are substantially more atrocious. The teams below them really are just, their defensive holes are unbelievable. Their goal differentials are completely, double digits, whereas at least, Celtic can keep some balls out of the net, and they do score a lot more goals than some of these other teams. So I do like their chances to stay up. As far as moving to another team, I always thought that this was an intermediary stop for him. I think he was just coming here to get a little bit more experience. Obviously, it is a step up from his previous league, so it's just another way to keep your mind in the back of Greg Berhalter. I think all these guys are working to keep their minds in the back of Greg Berhalter and just constantly trying to show that they're taking the next step. So I do think that this is just a stepping stone in the road for him, if you will, and I think he will be moving on to a potentially bigger club in the future here next season.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of sad that it's the best generation we've had, and their main concern when it comes to the national team is staying on the mind of Greg Berhalter. But anyways, that brings us to our last player, the best for last. I'm pretty sure Brenden would say that. But Brenden Aaronson, unfortunately, I'm not even going to get started on how the move panned out. It was supposed to be the perfect move, but everything spiraled down. The club is in a mess, and the loan definitely didn't work. He does get minutes there, here and there, but what do you think, Brenden? Is he staying up with Union Berlin, or do you think that they might just go down?
I think I can make an hour-long video just talking about him and how frustrated I've been with him, and some of the fans' treatments of him, and just the past couple of seasons have not been ideal. But I'll keep it short and sweet. I do think they will stay up. Like you said, Union Berlin, they had an incredible run last season, making top four, qualifying for the Champions League. And I do think their lack of experience and their lack of depth cost them. I think qualifying for the Champions League was actually whatever the opposite of a blessing in disguise is. I think it would have been that for them because they weren't ready for that level. It was a nice run in the league, but ultimately I think it has contributed heavily to their struggles this season. And honestly, I don't think they'd be in this position down in 15th place if they didn't have European football to contend with as well. They didn't even qualify for the Europa League, dead last in their group, which again, that is a blessing in disguise because having to travel to some obscure country for the preliminary round of the Europa League would have been another demon to contend with for them. I do think they'll stay up. They are 5 points clear of Cologne, like I mentioned earlier, who are in 16th spot. could be contending against Max Dietz for a spot in the league next season. But I think it'll be back to normal for Union Berlin, or as normal as it can be at that club next season. I think they'll be safe in the league. Whether Brenden will be there remains to be seen. He was pretty decent, I think, off the bench in their last game, a win over Wolfsburg, huge win. He was better than Paredes, that's all I'll say. Paredes started the game. Brenden only came on and off the bench. I think he was better. That's all I'll say about that. But a huge 3 points recently for Union Berlin. I think they will ultimately be fine, but it has been a frustrating season in general.
Yeah, very frustrating. And we've heard before, Thomas, you like the Aaronson brothers. Do you like the odds for Brenden to stay up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm much higher on Brenden. Paxten still has a ton to prove, but I do like both the players. I do think they're going to stay up. I think they're a talented enough team to stay up, and Cologne's really just not a very good team. The bottom 3 teams in the Bundesliga I think are destined for relegation this year. I mean, maybe Cologne could do something amazing in the playoff and stay up, but I just don't see it. I think some of the teams coming up from the Bundesliga B are a little bit better, or Bundesliga 2 rather. So yeah, I'm very, very high on Brenden Aaronson. I think he, like Braden's saying, I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate from the fan base. I think he's just one of those players that has so much potential. I think every time I watch Brenden Aaronson play, he does something on the ball that I'm like, wow, he's a really good player. It shocks me every time, and he does something that I'm surprised to see him do literally every time he plays on the field. He's a very solid player. What a fall from grace for them, huh? Champions League to relegation fight. Unbelievable. It never ceases to amaze me, some of the parity in the Bundesliga compared to, the bigger, the Premier League. You got your big six in the Prem. Obviously, in the Bundesliga, Bayern, with the exception of this year, has been dominant for a decade. But there's always a team in the Bundesliga who seems to be in that top 4 that falls from grace the next year. It was Mönchengladbach a few years ago. It was Union Berlin last year. It's unbelievable to me. So I do think that they stay up. And to my point, I do kind of hope they go down, though, because I have some weird dream in the back of my mind that he's somehow going to come back and be in a Leeds jersey one of these days. That's just what I want to happen. It probably won't happen. I've made that comment twice tonight, and I've gotten a big reaction out of Braden both times. It's what I want to see as a Leeds fan. So I hope they go down, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, that would be definitely a complete turnaround. I think a lot of people would struggle with that one happening, but I'm all for it. I think maybe just try it out there again in the Prem. It would definitely be a step up from this season. But yeah,
I don't see it happening, but it's just a pipe dream.
Yeah, dude, you can dream, right? I think it's not. Weirder things have happened. Stranger things have happened, definitely. But coming towards the end of this video, I just want to thank you, Brenden. Thank you, Thomas, for being our guest in this video. We really appreciate it and enjoyed having you here. And please, guys, in the comment, if you watched this far, leave a like. Comment down below what you think of the videos. What are you looking forward to towards the end of the season? And these guys that are in the fringe players, a lot of them are Olympic eligible. What do you think the remaining of the season has in store for them? Leave a like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And subscribe to Thomas' channel as well. We'll be leaving the link in the description. And we'll see you guys next time.